and now we have a dean who is so excited about this, and she sees the potential. She is Clemson. I don't know if you know E. I get to call her E. Her name is Dr. Winifred Newman. She goes by Elise, and she has been just outstanding for sure. So there's a real new wave of freshness here at the school. She's only been on the job for like two months now, but she came here from Clemson and kind of did an observation of what we had in the assets here at UWM, and I wasn't surprised. Okay, so great, excellent. I thought, well, she should feel that way, but she saw one of the great university assets here is the Historic Preservation Institute here. She sees that, she knows it, she understands it, and we continue to get responses from other professors here in the school and in other schools at the university that we're one of the only organizations that actually brings money into the school. It all goes out of the school. Okay, we're the only ones that bring it in because of these collaborations that we talked about. What a nice talk we had. I mean, we're in the same world. So what I thought I'd show maybe is very quickly some of this work. We'll go through it real quickly maybe before, let's see what the next slide says.
Down is forward.
Okay. We have the certificate program, and I don't even want to spend time. You guys know what this is all about. I'm just going to leave it here for a second because I do want to explain something. Here at the school, okay, we have something, we have the preservation program. I wasn't sure if we'd talk about the program proper and the certificate program. We're starting a Master's of Science Historic Preservation. And we have the Institute, the Historic Preservation Institute. And that's what we were kind of talking about. So we have academia here, we have the professional world over here, and then we have this thing in the middle called the Institute. And I do think that I'm preaching to the choir. You understand what this all is. This is an opportunity to bring professionals and students together and to do it in a really strategic way. And I call it collaborative learning. This sounds maybe a little unusual, but I'm telling you that my professionals are learning as much from these students as they're teaching the students. Primarily in the matter of virtual reality, software, laser scan, those kinds of things that, like those of us with gray hair, we get a little bit nervous and stuff like that. And my buddies who are professionals out there right now, they come in here and they are just really surprised at what they learn also from the students. So it's a kind of two-way thing that we have with the Institute. So they're more than happy to be part of this. And I was going to say one thing, because you had brought it up. The Institute allows us to kind of focus on certain areas of historic preservation as we like. Terracotta. About 2 years ago, I have friends, I come from the professional world, not the academic world. Okay, I've been teaching here for 33 years, and I was hired here because of my roles at the city. I'm a preservation commissioner there. I'm an advisor to the National Trust. We have several international programs going and so on. But there was a real need that was identified here by the school. Okay, and this, I have to tell you a little bit about the history of the school here real quickly. We're a young school, we're not an old school, okay? University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. We are a combination of a series of other kind of learning institutions on this campus that you've seen that came together in 1956 to be called the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, okay? In the late 60s, there was a heated debate about where the new architecture school was going to be. I don't know if some of you in your states, you're in the main university cities, but Madison is our capital. Madison is where the University of Wisconsin. We had a very heated debate about whether it should be in Milwaukee or Madison. Madison's a small town. Milwaukee is not a small town. Well, we do have a large suburb, a really large suburb called Chicago. They're a little bit larger than we are, but landed here. It's where it should be. Okay. But for about 15 years up to the early 80s, there wasn't much of a collaboration between the professionals in downtown and the architecture school here. And so there was real identification that we need to strengthen, okay, the relationship between the school, the architecture students, and the profession. And the profession is downtown Milwaukee. So I was asked in the late 80s, I was working for Kaler Slater Architects, I should say the co-director is Amanda Wagner, and she's sitting right there, and she can do all the stuff. She hooks this stuff up and all that, those kind of. And the idea is that we have to really strengthen that relationship. And I thought, okay, well, that makes a lot of sense to me. At that time, I've been teaching a long time, at that time in the early 1990s, I was doing regular design studios and technology classes and things like that. And there wasn't much by way of historic preservation going on here. So we kind of started things up a little bit. And I really was actually concerned in the mid-1990s because a lot of students had graduated from here. And I'm thinking, you guys, have you ever heard of the show Laverne and Shirley or Happy Days? If you don't know, City Hall of Milwaukee starts that show off, if you didn't know that. We have some weird iconic buildings, and I would show that to students and they wouldn't know what that is. Well, what is that? You're graduating with a degree from Milwaukee, maybe a 5-year degree, a 4-year graduate degree, and you don't know City Hall in Milwaukee? This is a problem. And the talks I've heard, it's you just got done with engaging Muncie and so forth, and this is wrong. These students have to start to know about the downtown. What a learning lab. We worked so hard in the late 60s to get the architecture school in Milwaukee. We have to use that as a learning lab. And so that's what the Institute and the program has focused on, having professionals here and use that, you were talking hands-on, experiential. Is that what you said in one of your points? Touch this stuff, know what you're looking at. So we thought, boy, we're passing up a great lab. I have a Chicago studio years ago. We take the students down to the Chicago studio. We all know this is the best way for young architects to learn about historic preservation. You've got to go to these things. There's only so much book reading that you can do. We have excellent virtual reality here, and we'll be moving that forward. That's great, but you got to get these places. You got to touch them, and you got to feel them, and you got to see them, and so forth. And Milwaukee is a terrific historic preservation town, and we've heard a lot of good things the last couple of years because of the Republican convention, the Democrat convention, the Bucks winning the World Championship. All of a sudden, people from outside Milwaukee are coming to Milwaukee, the National Trust. How many were at, I know you were at the National Trust. A couple others were at the National Trust. So, wow, National Midwest Advisor has nothing to do with me, but here I am, and we have the annual conference in Milwaukee. So Milwaukee is just really a great laboratory for learning, and you can have kind of you can affect things too. So we have the Preservation Institute that has been here for about 25 years, okay, and funding. Is that all right if I talk about funding? Sure. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I'm looking at going, holy Toledo, I got to get together with this guy, because it's really what our institute is about, a lot of the learning points that you put up. So I'll just kind of be repeating those. So I'm going to go to our funding, our funding capacity. The Institute 20 years ago, man, I had very little, if anything, by way of funding. And something funny happened about 15 years or so ago. In 2011-12, there was a threat to the Wisconsin Historic Tax Credit Program. And the program here in Wisconsin wasn't that good, 5%. Okay? And the Fed's 20%, fine, 25%. We had lost our first opera house here in Milwaukee. It's where the Marriott Hotel is. We lost that building. There was an uproar in the city. I was a commissioner at the time. A couple other commissioners were fired. We got to do something in Milwaukee. We have got to raise awareness about our assets and the great things we have here. How can we do that? This city has no budget. The staff, nobody has any budget, but there's that school up on the north side here, and they have an institute. I got a lump of money there to make sure that this doesn't happen again in Milwaukee, and to work on the historic tax credit program. Okay? So the students, the institute, worked a great deal on collecting the data to show that the historic tax credit program worked. And lo and behold, we had it raised to 20%. So that's why you see, I asked for hands. You were in the MSO, a couple hands are. The only reason that thing is there right now, as I think Andy said it, others, is because of the tax credit program. That would be a demolition, that would be gone right now. It's in downtown Milwaukee. Okay? It's at 6th and Wisconsin Avenue. So all of a sudden, the financial benefits of historic preservation and doing things right. All of a sudden there was a kind of clouds parted, and there was an awareness by some of the deep pocket philanthropic operations here in Milwaukee. I'll say it, David Eline, support, and he still supports mine. He is part of the Schlitz empire, if you've ever heard of Schlitz beer. Okay? I have other entities that you've heard of like that, Harley Davidson. These people, these companies support it because they understand the richness and the value and the virtue of things in the city of Milwaukee. They don't want to lose this stuff. So we provided that for them, and we've had terrific success. But we kind of continue to do that. So I worked for years ago on the City Hall, that City Hall I'm talking about, terracotta falling off and so forth. And the Gladdy McBean Company was part of that terracotta. If you're hardcore preservationists, you know that some of that terracotta fell off 8-9 years ago, okay, after the new was put on, technically it was incorrect and so forth. And the Gladdy McBean Company said, hold on a second here, we need some proper research about terracotta. Amanda left, but she led that studio. She went out for a drink and back in, and we have evidence of what we've done. Gladdy McBean, California, Milwaukee, Claddy City Hall. And this has been happening with a lot of these kind of relationships and collaborations that we've been doing. And as I told you, I'm fine with letting you know. We're all in this thing together. This is what we do. The Gladdy McBean Company gave us for that studio $25,000 to do that studio that semester. They gave it to the school. And that facilitated our investigations and going out to California, which the students did do. I don't see any that were in that studio here in the group. Going there, understanding how terracotta was made, touching it, feeling it, and so forth. And really win, 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 win. I mean, it's just a win for everybody. It's a win for Gladdy McBean. It was a win for us. It was a win for City, a win for Terry, the whole thing. And it doesn't take a genius to kind of figure that stuff out. So the latest thing that you see out there that the students are becoming expert at now, of course, is laser scanning. I mean, I know you all know laser scanning, but through some of our collaborations with companies here in Milwaukee, I know you've talked about scanning. You said it, I don't know, Clemson, they're scanning there, because Elise has told me about the scanning there. Oh, scanners, they're cheap, right? That scanner over on the tripod, and that's an old one. That's with the software $110,000. There is no way architect school or UW, no way that they would buy me a piece of equipment like that. Absolutely no way. The only way we have that thing in there is with the Tech Render Company here in Milwaukee. Okay? They buy it, they donate it to us. They are able to be part of the curriculum of study on what we do and what we scan. Pretty simple stuff, not that big of a deal. Speaking of which, at least we just got done talking.
Oh.
Yes! I'm talking about this kind of new era and this new focus with historic preservation here at the school and the leaders. And I'm sincere about that. I mean, it was a slow go for 7, 8, 9 years with the transition. And we have somebody else from Clemson, right down there.
Yes, I know him as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this kind of relationship that we've had, I'll do one other example. I'm going to go through these quickly and we'll be done with it. Yep. But the one last example was about a year ago, the AIA convention was in Milwaukee, and we were getting ready to go out to the castle to scan. Mark has been out to it's that stuff out there in the commons that you see. And the scanners that we had really weren't appropriate ones for doing that castle, owned by a Milwaukee Feldmater organization. And we really need a Leo. Does anybody understand what a Leo is? Have you ever heard that name? That's a latest small handheld scanner, okay, that would be able to document kind of decorative items at the castle that needed to be replaced, because some were still there. Scan that, we can recast it, and so forth. For the newest Leo. It was 10 days before we left. William should be in it. It was 10 days before we left. We didn't have a Leo. Well, it's life in the big city. What can you do about it? And my friend Ken Brunig was at AIA and said, what's going on, Matt? What do you got going on? Well, we're going to go out to the castle. We're going to do some stuff there. I said, okay, good. I said, I'd like to have a Leo scanner. How much does it cost, Matt? Well, yeah, it's $32,000, that handheld thing you see out there, handheld thing. 2 days later, we had the Leo scanner. He bought the scanner, he said, get it done. And that's what we've been doing with that scanner out there, getting that done. That kind of piece of equipment, generally donated to the school, benefits part of the learning. And the students are out there right now, so I'm glad Elise is here because we're making a chess set out of all of this. If you didn't know, you see me being scanned. There will be a 3D produced chess set of all of us that these guys are scanning right now. So maybe in some ways that, let's just sort of say that's maybe a little bit of a conclusion in some ways to my story, because I think you have other things to do with the poster thing and those kind of things. But how do we get young people interested in this historic preservation? And I've been here long enough. I was the first, we were across the courtyard in that old building 33 years ago. I had a class in that building, so I've been in this building ever since. 30 years ago, it was not easy to get aware. 6, 8, 10 students in the program. Something has happened now recently, and I think we all know what it is. It's a historic architecture. This is beautiful, seductive, salacious stuff, and our young people are recognizing that. They're coming to the program. This fall now we have 30, these are some of them, 33 students in the studio. Normally we have, you got 14, 12, that's the studio profile. We have 33, my lecture class is always in this room, and we have about 34 students in that lecture class. It's really looking good for preservation. I think that they understand that, they see that, they understand in going to offices, because I have my alum, and we're going to see a lot of them tonight, and I have professionals my age saying, we need, boy, can we use students who know Leo, who know Revit, who know Faro, who know how to process files. Man, they are happy. So it's actually becoming interesting, being in historic preservation for the students. Not the least being those scanners you see out there, okay? Drones, okay? And all of the new high-tech equipment. Okay? And maybe that's my last story. We have a threat here now to the Mitchell Park domes. If you know, those are considered glass back in the mid-60s. And they don't know what they're going to do, but I've talked to the director, Kristen is her name, and I know that being on the commission, I know about what's approved is, and so do we demo it or do we restore it? Well, they have made the commitment to restore those. They're going to be $120 million to restore those glass domes. Okay? And I've been talking to the director because we have a group out of Illinois, northern Illinois, that have a drone that can mount a scanner. I was talking to a couple of you before this. Drone is photogrammetry. It's not scanning. It's real nice, but it's not going to tell you the exact dimensions of those glass panels that have to be replaced. And I told her, I said, listen, you should drone scan this, but that drone scanner, Emily's not here. Emily's working with them, $120,000 for that drone scanner. I don't make a foot that high here. There's no way. And she had said, I let her take the lead. She said, it's going to cost me about $2 million to scaffolding. We have to scaffold twice. Once to do the measuring of the glass, and then 9 months later to put the glass in. I said, well, we'll drone it. We'll drone it. $130 million for this drone scanner. That's a bargain for her. Okay? I told you, I'm exposing the secrets here. So she can see and understands that, and I'm like, get the thing. We'll work with it. We can use it, and the contractor, Steve Smith, and we can use it in other projects. Use it in other projects. We have a lot of these kind of tall, high, structures and so forth that need this, and you can't do this, for the scaffolding. No, they can do it, but this scaffolding costs a lot of money. Now you have to have scaffolding to put the thing in. But if you don't have to do the scaffolding twice, she saves over $1 million with that. So there's a drop in the bucket, this kind of scanner. So anyway, that's what we're doing here, and it's become really an interesting circumstance. I have great professionals coming back. They love this stuff, and I have great students now who understand the skills that they're going to get going through the preservation program. And lastly, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that this is called the School of architecture and urban planning, okay? It's not the School of Historic Preservation. What I do has to be part of the overall design mentality of the school and in design studios. And I think, Lisa, I didn't make the last half of the faculty retreat 2 weeks ago, but I think you said there was a sentiment by the other professors that existing buildings, proper documentation can fundamentally be part of their design challenges. And that's just sort of a great realization that we didn't have 20 or 30 years ago here. Keep historic preservation at the end of the hall, please, be quiet. Go ahead.
I think there have been environmental impacts that have caused people to reevaluate the investment in new art and new construction. I mean, I think it's driven in part by changes that we're seeing around the world, not just here, in economies that are having to deal with serious issues related to resiliency, related to circularity, right, and use of materials. And so I think there's a growing interest around the world, but I definitely see it inflecting architecture education in general in relationship to, not just adaptive reuse, but actually material reuse, which I find really interesting, or reuse of techniques using new technologies, which I also find quite interesting, or adaptation of techniques from other parts of the globe into similar situations. So we're a freshwater environment. There are multiple freshwater environments around the world. Thinking about how freshwater environments manage their resources is part of that conundrum, is part of that problem as well. And not surprisingly, most of our cities are along bodies of water in one way or another across the world. So that, again, underscores a kind of shared knowledge, I think, in the disciplines in and around the built world. That if you think about it, our existing cities are, in a way, kind of, how do you say, a built knowledge that we're able to access now in a different way and think about and parse and frame in a different way. So yes, I absolutely think there's a tremendous amount coming out in this area.
Carl Elefante's latest book, Going Through Zero.
Exactly, right.
And he's got a book for you. I'm going to give it to you when we're done here, signed
I
to
love
you.
books.
No,
Books
and
are
he
my
signed it
favorite.
for you. Too late.
Old-fashioned, but it's
Let's
me.
move forward with historic preservation.
Yeah, that's great.
Moving to Zero, I think was his title.
Yes.
And of course, a couple of you who were at Carl Elephant's, wasn't that an excellent way to culminate that 51% of the work of architects will be with existing buildings.
Another thing that makes it valuable for students is that AIA has, over the last 2 or 3 years now, in their billings report, that architects are doing more than 50% of their billings dealing with existing buildings.
Yep, that's right,
Yeah.
51%.
Yeah.
That's right, with existing buildings. Do we have 10 minutes to spare here?
Can we do the posters and then have 10
Yes,
minutes to spare?
yes.
Yeah,
Let's do the
let's
posters
that.
and then we'll culminate because a couple of our really important experts are here from Rome, Nikos and Sotiris, and they would like to show you a little bit of another important part of our program, and that's our international field operations. We have it in England, as you know, Italy and Japan, and they have a short presentation because it is something that could be available for any university in the United States. So let's do the good idea. So let's go to the poster.
Posters, because they've come here, they've been here for most of the day.